Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be going over another Neville Goddard lecture. This one's titled The Second Vision. It has a wonderful message and one I'd like to share with you guys. So I'll go through, I'll paraphrase the lecture, and we'll talk about it as we go. Now, like I said, in this lecture, Neville discusses the idea of the second vision, an event in which, when you have reached a certain point of awakening, you are reborn from above. You begin a new life as a cosmic being, and you direct yourself forward from the heavenly spheres and with new capacities. He starts the lecture with another quote from William Blake saying, quote, "All that you behold through it appears to be without. It is within, in your imagination, of which this world of mortality is but a shadow." Unquote. Neville then refers to President Eisenhower's recent speech at the time, where he spoke about the freedom of the individual and the two great documents that define this freedom. First, the Declaration of Independence, where it establishes man the freedom to worship, to speak, and to express himself as he wishes. And the second, which is the sole other document, book, that takes precedent over the first, which is the Bible. For in the Bible is the story of man's awakening to freedom of expression and unto the infinite possibilities within him. He says the Bible is a series of visions from beginning to end. The Old Testament shows what is taking place in the whole. The New Testament tells us what is taking place in the single or the individual man. The whole vast vision in both Old and New is actually taking place within the individual. He says the whole of humanity is contained in each individual, and that each individual is actually God. Now, let's think about this. Throughout the Old Testament, and everything that was before the year zero, was the development of man into his individuality. Until then, he was not aware of his inner life, the life of soul. For man had to gradually learn to see beyond this physical plane. It was the event on Golgotha, in which the conscious I that is within each and every one of us, this event on Golgotha was the moment in which the I consciousness of self-conceptualized. It was the first moment that the cosmos reflected itself by saying I to itself. After that moment, the portal for man to find his way back to God opened, and infinite knowledge opened up to him. Human consciousness pivoted, and a new way of being opened up. And it is no small matter that the whole world recognized that something new had entered and decided to press 0 on the calendar. For here on forward was something new for man. Now for Neville, all of the events in the Bible, all of the events of Christ, unfold within you for you to awaken unto your eternal nature. He describes his first vision saying, "I actually gave birth to this Christ child, as it was enacted in me. I was its father. My reality is invisible, for I held it in my hands what I formed as my own son. But I did not need a body. So when God conceives of himself, he conceives of man. So you are God, conceiving Christ Jesus, and forming out of your own being, unaided by any other person in the world, the only begotten Son of God." He then goes on to describe his experience of the second vision, which took place 24 days after the first, in which he was reborn from above. He states that after one comes to this experience of being reborn, you will then have a second vision of the old man in which you used to be, dying. The old form in which you were must die. For Neville, coming to this experience is a process of learning of the transformative power within you. For now you can cast off your old forms and take up new forms. You can cast off old states and self-conceptions and bring an invisible state into being. He then says, no matter what is, Start with a job or a house that seems to be beyond your reach, and then live in the feeling that you have it. In the degree that you are faithful to these images, you are preparing the way for the coming of the child. He says, I place my image in the garden, Eden, and then out of it comes a river, and it parts into 4 sections. It is not actual water. If I wanted to realize my dream, what must I do to make it real so I can share it with this, my shadow world called man? I must know the taste and touch and sight and sound of what it would be if it were true. If I could see what I would see if my dream were true, and remain faithful to that imagery, I would make it real in the world of shadows. The only risk is that after it becomes real, man is likely to lose himself in the thing he created in the world of effects and deny his faithfulness to the image that produced it. So then he goes sound asleep once more. So many people do that, and it is nice to meet now and then someone who has not forgotten. Now, Neville concludes the lecture saying that the child only comes out of the mind of man when that mind is prepared for its coming and is lived in completely by faith. He ends by saying that in order to separate spirit from form, one must learn to live in the reality of invisible states. He then says, if you would today transform your life, all you need are sound and sight and touch and taste. These are the 4 rivers that flow out of Eden. These are the senses, and you water your Eden by these. And if you are faithful to your image, it will flow into what you call reality. But it is the shadow. Only the idea is real. Now, throughout this lecture, Neville explains that the Christ child symbolizes the separation from form and can only come out of the mind of man through faith. He encourages living completely by faith to bring about the coming of the Christ child. For through Christ you are redeemed, you are transformed, and you take hold of your divine powers to create your world. Now, this lecture gives us plenty to reflect on, and I hope you find time today to do so. I'll be making many more videos on spiritual development and transformation, and I hope you join me on those future videos. Thanks so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon.